Section 1. You will hear a man calling a storage company to inquire about the services they offer. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good afternoon, Safeway Storage Company. Can I have your name, please?
Yes, hello. My name is Travis Wagner.
I'm sorry, could you say your surname again for me?
It's Wagner, spelled W-A-G-N-E-R. The man tells him that his surname is Wagner, so Wagner has been written in the space. You should now answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good afternoon, Safeway Storage Company. Can I have your name, please?
Yes, hello. My name is Travis Wagner.
I'm sorry, could you say your surname again for me?
It's Wagner, spelled W-A-G-N-E-R.
All right, I've got it. Now, how can I help you today, Mr. Wagner?
Well, I'm looking to put some items into storage, and I need them to be picked up from my apartment.
That's not a problem. We can arrange that for you. How long are you planning to keep the items in storage?
Probably about 9 months, although I'm not exactly sure. I am going to be living abroad for some time, but my return date is not set yet.
Okay, I understand. There is a slight price reduction if you pay for a set time in advance, but in your case, it sounds like we should just charge you the open rate.
Yes, that's fine.
All right. Well, let me give you the booking number before I forget. If you need to call us up later and add anything to your storage plan, you can use this number. It's 5429EG.
5429EG. I got it.
When would you like us to come and pick up your belongings?
Well, we need to move out of our apartment at the beginning of April, so it would need to be a week or two before that. Let's see, how about Saturday, March 19th? Are you available on that day?
Let me check our schedule here. Yes, we can do that. And what's your address?
It's 40 Slate Road.
You said it was an apartment, right? Is there an apartment number?
Oh, right. The apartment number is C4.
All right, I got it. Now, there are a few more details that I need from you. Are there any valuable items that you want me to make special note of?
Well, I don't think so. Wait, I guess I should tell you about the collection that my wife has. She loves to collect dolls made of porcelain, and they are quite fragile. And in my case, I have a massive number of records that I'm planning to keep in storage while I'm gone.
All right, I'll make note of that.
The living room has some furniture that we plan on storing as well. There is an end table that we don't want to part with, plus an antique lamp that we got as a wedding gift.
Okay.
We have some paintings that we want to store as well. They are not valuable or anything, but they were painted by my sister, so they have a lot of sentimental value for us. Finally, my wife and I collect coffee mugs from other countries, so we want to make sure that they are packed carefully.
I understand. We will make sure to take special care of them.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Let's move on to the kitchen. Are you planning to store your major appliances?
No, we are going to sell all of the big kitchen items.
The oven as well?
Yes, we're not going to store the oven.
What about the dishwasher?
Oh, that's right. We are going to keep the dishwasher. I almost forgot. so we'll need that picked up as well. But that's everything from the kitchen.
All right, let's move on to the bedroom then. Is there anything I should take note of?
My wife has a hope chest that we would like picked up, and we want to store the bed frame, but not the mattress.
All right, I think that's all we need. The rest we can sort out during the pickup.
I'd like to hear about what kind of security you offer for your storage units.
Well, we have two options when it comes to security. You have a basic security unit that has a padlock on the door and is monitored 24 hours a day by CCTV. And then we have a premium security unit with a touch sensor alarm system in a building monitored at all times by a security guard.
Okay, let's go with that second one then.
Yes, that's a good choice. Well, I think that's all we need from you then. Oh, right. Do you have a preference for what time you would like us to come by for the pickup?
Could you come in the morning?
Yes, we can come as early as 9 a.m.
That sounds fine. I'll actually be out of the apartment for a bit, but I can leave the key for you in the mailbox.
That sounds good. I'll see you then.
Thank you. Goodbye. This is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a man talking to a tour group about an art museum. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16. Okay, it looks like we have everyone with us now, so let me begin by giving you a brief introduction to the Davis Modern Art Museum. The building that houses the museum was constructed in 1856. It was used as a private residence by the Davis family until it was donated to the city in 1920. And after a renovation in 1946, it was officially named as a museum. The museum is popular among local residents, not only for its beautiful galleries and excellent facilities, which of course can be found in a number of other museums as well, but also due to its decision to highlight the work of local artists, including that of area high school students. You may have read in the news that a valuable painting was stolen earlier this year, prompting the addition of a high-tech security system. You can see the cameras located there, and we will soon be adding a laser security system and pressure sensors. This will ensure that we continue to attract traveling exhibitions to the museum. We have also taken great strides to ensure that foreign visitors who may not speak English as their first language are able to learn about the artwork on display. Signs explaining the art are displayed in 6 different languages. With advanced notice, we can provide tour guides for speakers of over 10 different languages, and we are now in the process of updating the subtitles of many of our video art installations. The gift shop is located just inside the front door on the left side. By design, it takes up very little space, as the museum curator does not want it to distract from the galleries. But soon, we will be offering an online store where all the products will be available, with free shipping as well. We are also careful to ensure that all handmade products are genuine and made by independent craftspeople. You might find it odd that our museum does not feature any Asian art. It's true that our permanent collection is centered on European modern art, but we do actually have temporary exhibitions displaying Asian art from time to time. Of course, the main reason we don't feature a lot of Asian art is because of the Oriental Art Museum, located just a few blocks from here. We believe that in this case, specialization really benefits the visitors. Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20. All right, well, the museum is not terribly large, but let me give you a quick layout of the museum, specifically where you can find the 4 most popular exhibits. I recommend starting with the Picasso room. You really can't miss it, since it's straight in front of you as you walk through the front door, just past the information desk. Then I would suggest spending some time in the pre-modern gallery, where you can learn about some of the art movements that led to modernism. You can find it across from the cafe, which is over on the far left wall of the museum. On the other side of the museum is the performance art venue. If you are still here at 2 p.m., you should definitely see the performance there. It's fantastic. From the front door, just head to the right, and you'll see it next to the bathrooms. It's a really huge space, so it's hard to miss. Oh, and don't miss the Miracle of Flight exhibit, which displays art related to flying and early airplane travel. It's tucked away in the corner, next to the gift shop. It will only be running for a couple more weeks, so this will likely be your last chance to see it. That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 3. You will hear a professor talking to a student about a presentation he is preparing for. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25. Good morning, Professor.
Hello, Henry. Come on in and have a seat. Let's discuss next week's social science presentation. What have you decided on for your topic?
I've decided to present about solar cookers. I want to focus on the ways solar cookers are being used to improve people's lives in Africa.
Interesting choice. How did you first hear about solar cookers?
When I was in high school, I and one of my classmates signed up for a volunteer trip to Ethiopia. We mostly worked alongside a civil engineer while we were there, but we attended a workshop and one of the presenters described how solar cookers worked.
So, what kind of information has your research turned up so far?
Well, for one thing, I originally thought that solar cooking was a pretty recent invention, but it turns out it goes back to the 18th century. A Frenchman named Horace de Saussure was the first person to record the cooking of food with energy from the sun, although the Greeks used solar energy for other purposes long before that, and the Chinese even earlier.
I was not aware of that. How interesting.
Yes, I thought so. They didn't really become very popular until the 1950s, though. That's when Indian and American companies started mass-producing box-style solar ovens. Unfortunately, there were lower-cost alternatives available, so they were not terribly popular. It was also around this time that scientists started experimenting with concentrated cookers, which were capable of much higher temperatures. Most solar cookers these days are a variety of concentrated cooker, which can reach the same temperatures as a standard oven. They are still seen mostly as a niche product in developed countries, although interest seems to pick up whenever there is a shortage of oil.
Well, that makes sense, I guess, although it is unfortunate. How do they work?
There are two parts. A cone made of reflective material concentrates the sun's energy onto a single plate, heating it to high temperatures. It doesn't quite get hot enough to grill meat, but in most models, a container is built around this plate, which traps the heat and bakes the food. Water and food can also be boiled in it, so it is especially useful in places without access to drinking water. Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
It sounds like you've done a lot of research on this, but have you put any thought into how you might present it?
Yes, I have a rough plan for my presentation, although I might need to make some changes later on. I'm going to start with a general introduction to solar cookers, including their history, their construction, and what they are used for. A lot of the research that I just told you about will be presented in this opening section. From there, I plan to focus on a single organization called Solar Cookers International, or SCI. They are one of the leading advocates of solar cooking in developing countries. I'll start by explaining their mission. Overall, they aim to use thermal heating technology to improve people's lives. I'm especially interested in their focus on the lives of women and children who end up doing most of the cooking in the developing countries. They also promote solar cooking as a way of bringing clean water to places that need it most. Then I'll move on to explaining the work that they do. Solar cooker distribution and education form the bulk of their activities. They estimate that over 30,000 African families have learned to use solar cookers from their organization. They also lobby national and international aid groups to include solar cookers in aid packages that are sent to developing countries. In the final part of the presentation, I'll discuss ways that students can get involved in the organization's work. Besides donating money to the organization, the most important way individuals can help is to raise awareness about how easy it is to cook with solar energy. You can invite friends and family to have a solar cooked meal with you. Even better, have the meal in a public place so that others will be curious and ask what you are doing. If it goes well, you can try organizing a solar eating event and invite the local media to cover it. These small steps taken by individuals will help more people become interested in solar cooking. This is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 4. You will hear a man giving an informational talk about terms related to the field of linguistics. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. Hello everyone. and welcome to today's lecture. We have a lot to cover this morning, so if you could please take your seats and give me your attention, we can get started right away. As linguists, we are very adept at naming things, and today I would like to take some time to unpack 3 terms that often cause confusion for people unfamiliar with linguistic terminology. While they can be difficult to wrap your head around at first, these terms form the foundation of some of the most fundamental discussions in linguistic theory. The first term is competence. You are probably familiar with the word as it is used in everyday English. Generally, it describes one's ability or skill level. For linguists, however, this word carries much more importance. Noam Chomsky originally coined the term in 1965 as part of his theory of grammar. Competence, as defined by Chomsky, describes the system of knowledge possessed by a language speaker. The opposite of linguistic competence is linguistic performance, which takes into account all of the elements of speaking that are not related to the language itself, such as distractions, tiredness, or other temporary circumstances. For example, if a speaker is talking to someone that they are romantically attracted to, they are more likely to feel nervous and say something incorrectly or forget a word. According to Chomsky, this is a performance error, but it does not indicate the speaker's true competence. The distinction between competence, or true ability, and performance, or observed ability, has special implications for test designers. If the goal of an assessment is to test the true ability of the speaker, then efforts must be made to reduce or eliminate factors that could cause performance-based mistakes. Another term that language experts like to debate is linguistic determinism. The term is most often linked to 2 scholars, Benjamin Lee Whorf and Edward Sapir. Put simply, this theory implies that a person's thought process is determined by their language. Therefore, 2 people who speak different languages are likely to think differently as well. As one philosopher put it, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. One of the most well-known studies in support of linguistic determinism involves different shades of color. Participants were found to have the ability to recall certain shades more easily when their language had a name for them. Another study asked English speakers and Japanese speakers to observe a man knocking over a glass. English speakers were later able to remember details about the man more clearly. And to explain this, researchers pointed to the fact that Japanese speakers tend to use more passive voice, which takes emphasis away from the doer of the action. Opponents of this theory, like well-known theorist Steven Pinker, point to the fact that we have thoughts prior to language. For example, I am able to recognize a color even if I have no word to describe it. Finally, let's talk about the term descriptive linguistics. This term describes a certain approach to the study of language, whereby the linguist attempts to observe and analyze how a language is actually used. Descriptivists would never make a grammar textbook, for example, because they are not interested in what is the correct or ideal language use. In fact, they are more interested in how different people speak the same language in very different ways. The opposite of descriptive linguistics is prescriptive linguistics. A prescriptivist is concerned with the proper way to speak a language. Imagine a very young child asking for a glass of water, saying, "Me want water." A prescriptivist would notice the use of me instead of I and mark it as a mistake. Those who are interested in descriptive linguistics would instead hypothesize that this is the kind of language that a very young person uses to ask for something. The writing of dictionaries is where these two schools of thought collide. A descriptivist would aim to include as many words as possible, so long as at least a small community uses the word. They would encourage the inclusion of new words like meme and microblog as early as possible. Prescriptivists, on the other hand, tend to be resistant to new words and words used by only a small part of the culture. This is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.